I reckon I'm living the good life. A bywyd dda. And I'm really grateful for that. And in many ways, that's why I make these videos, to share that it is entirely possible and to explore what it looks like for me. It does take hard work and dedication and good design, but if you get it right, the rewards are extraordinary. It's mid-August here at the moment, and we are abundant in a wide range of fruit and vegetables. In fact, these days, we're pretty self-sufficient in fruit and vegetables, though it is very seasonal, especially with the fruit. We get a succession of crops throughout the year. We've had strawberries, black currants and blueberries. They're all finished now. At the moment, we're harvesting grapes, blackberries, Japanese wineberries. And pretty soon, it will be time for the autumn olive berries. But hey, let me show you something special. This is a cherry plum tree. Now, when we started the Eco Village back in 2009, we, along with many of our neighbours, planted cherry plum trees all over the place, in fact. And there's loads of them, and they all make fruit, but virtually none of them have ripe fruit. They all just stay green and hard. Apart from these two bushes, which were gifted by a friend of ours from Belgium. I don't know if you can see, these are absolutely laden with fruit. And so these are real winners. We're harvesting these not just to eat, but also for their seed, so that we can plant a next generation of cherry plum tree for not just here, for our neighbours as well. You see, up here in the Welsh Hills, you have to choose your crops very carefully. For me, working the land also includes managing our own water. Here we harvest spring water for drinking water and rainwater for irrigation. This summer has been incredibly dry, and that has really challenged the resilience of the systems that we've built. Our pond here behind us, which is an important part of supplying water for our polytunnel, is about 2 foot lower than it should be. Fortunately, our fish stocks that we've got in there are all from the carp family, so they're able to cope with low water levels. Plus, we're coming into autumn now, so pretty soon the rain will come. For me, working the land also means generating power from renewables. This biomass harvest has been set aside as a fuel crop. It's going to season outside for another 8 or 9 months before being moved into the woodsheds to dry. It's really good to grow your own fuel. It's incredibly empowering. It takes time though, decades really, to establish woodland and coppice. But if you can incorporate your coppice and woodland areas into your shelter belts and use them to create microclimates, then you can combine functions and build up the fertility of the whole. For me, living the good life is about working with animals. Polly here has been with us about 5 years now. When she arrived, she was a nervous and a timid young doe. Over time, she's matured and grown in confidence, and now she's a calm and steady matriarch for our herd. And yes, she helps us manage the land, and we get a steady supply of milk. But it's more than that. It's also about companionship. Take the geese, for example. Gandalf, our gander, is 20 years old this year. He's been with us most of his life, and during that time he's protected his flock from all sorts of challenges, including facing down a fox one time. Or Kiba, who on the one hand keeps the rodent population in check and also charms all our visitors and volunteers to feed him and let him sleep on their beds at night. Or the doves, who spread peace and love in the world. But it's also about providing a space for the wild animals. Here, I am serenaded by birdsong, caressed by the hum of the bees, blessed by the wildlife that has returned here. You see, when we arrived 15 years ago, it was just a blank sheep field. There was virtually no wildlife at all. In fact, all the plots here were ecologically depleted. And now the whole hillside is teeming with biodiversity. And so, to live amongst a community of people who honour the wildlife and manage the land in a way that is respectful of both cultivated and wild nature is important to me. And this brings me to the other aspect of what the good life means for me, and that is being part of a neighbourhood community, an eco-village, where there is a culture that supports peaceful, land-based lifestyles, where people find joy and purpose in the simplicity of working the land. You see, self-sufficiency was never supposed to be about going it alone. Rather, it's about creating a culture of self-reliance through human-scale land management practices that respect our roles as stewards of the earth and understand that our well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of the whole ecology. And sustainability is about understanding the natural patterns well enough so that we can design, implement and maintain systems that support both humans and wildlife to coexist in balance into the future. You see, the ultimate test for sustainability is time. And so for this way of life to succeed, it needs to become intergenerational. And for this, it needs to work so well that it inspires future generations to pick up the baton and take on the challenge. And that is what I see happening here. And that gives me hope for the future. Now, I can't talk about the good life without referencing a sitcom that was very popular in the 1980s, which is when I was growing up, called The Good Life, which was about a charismatic but rather inept couple, Tom and Barbara, as they struggled to become self-sufficient in the middle of suburbia. But that television programme was a reflection of a real movement that was happening at the time, of people leaving towns and cities and returning to a land-based lifestyle. And within that movement, there was a very prominent figure, John Seymour, who wrote the book on self-sufficiency and inspired a whole wave of people to move back to the land. Now, it's no accident that that movement was centred here in West Wales. In fact, John Seymour lived over the mountain there. What's more, his family are still living there, part of a whole neighbourhood of people living close to the land. Testament to the incredible legacy that John Seymour and his peers left us. In some ways, things have moved on since the 1980s. Permaculture design techniques support us to create intelligent, low-input, high-output systems, build fertility, productivity, and biodiversity. It enables us to build lifestyles that are closer to the natural harmonies, and that brings health, well-being, and balance. In addition, new technologies have made renewable energy solutions more accessible than they've ever been before. It's relatively easy to make electricity from solar panels. Plus, there are new seeds and crops being shared and developed that mean that it's actually totally viable to create a forest garden more or less anywhere in the UK now. But there's much that's still the same. That timeless call to return to the garden is still there, 50 years on. And in many ways, it's more relevant now and more pressing now than it's ever been before. There's still a steady stream of people exiting towns and cities, returning to a simpler land-based life. And fortunately, in this part of the world, there's a wealth of knowledge and experience to support people in that transition. So that as a movement, we can learn from each other and we can go from strength to strength. I want to honour the giants on whose shoulders we now stand and just share a couple of little excerpts from John Seymour's book. Now, self-sufficiency means the acceptance of complete responsibility for what you do or what you do not do. And one of its greatest rewards is the joy that comes from seeing each job right through. It is the striving for a higher standard of living, for food which is fresh and organically grown and good, for the good life in pleasant surroundings, for the health of body and peace of mind, which come with hard, varied work in the open air. The true homesteader will seek to husband his land, not exploit it, He will wish to improve and maintain the heart of his land, its fertility. He will learn by observing nature that growing one crop only or keeping one species of animal only on the same piece of land is not in the natural order of things. He will therefore wish to nurture the animals and plants on his land to ensure the survival of the widest possible variety of natural forms. To people lucky enough to get their fair share of the planet and who wish to follow something of the lifestyle described in this book, I would offer this advice. Do not try to do everything at once. This is an organic way of life, and organic processes tend to be slow and steady. Rome was not built in a day, and Rome was probably not worth building. A sound, self-sufficient smallholding certainly is. If you've enjoyed this video, check out our other off-grid homesteading offers at www.lamasearthcentre.co.uk.